What's up guys, and you're welcome back to my channel. My name is Jane, and on today's tutorial I'll be learning how to draft the princess seam, and we'll be drafting the classic and the modified versions of the princess seam. Bodice, if you have not seen a video on my basic bodice pattern, I will link it down in the description box so that you can go watch it. For this princess, that the pattern is going to stop at the waist. So the basic difference between the two princess, that the classic and the modified one, is that if you notice on my pattern paper, this is for the classic, I didn't put my underbust measurement. So for the modified, I imputed my underbust measurement. So what you need to do is to measure from your shoulder to where your underbust is, and then impute that measurement for your underbust. So first off, I'm going to show you how to do the classic princess dart before we go over to the modified one. Okay, so the first thing I'll be doing is to mark my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches. So my nipple is 8 inches, 8 nipple to nipple, that is the bust span. 8 inch divided by 2, which is 4 inch. I'll be marking 4 inch down on the line. Just draw a straight line to connect the 2 points together. Alright, so now that I've done this, I'll go over to my armpit line and go up by 3 inches. On that 3 inch mark, this is my 3 inch mark there, I'll be opening the dart legs by half an inch on both. I'll be opening this 3 inch mark by half an inch on both sides. Alright, now that I've done this, I'll be connecting it to my bust line. Okay, so now I've just connected, that is the line in between the two lines that I made, to my bust line. So for the darts, I'm going to be taking 1 inch on my waistline. You can decide to take 3/4 of an inch, or you can go by, you can decide to take 1.5 inch depending on the size of your bust. So for me, I'll be taking 1 inch on both sides of the parallel line that I just drew, and then I will come down by 1 inch on my bust point line. That's on my bust line. I will come down by 1 inch, and then I will be marking, connecting the dart legs that I have just drawn, be connecting it to that 1 inch that I marked. Okay, now that I've done this, you can see that the dart is gradually taking shape. So for this part of, for the armpit part, I'm going to be going up by 1 inch on the bust line. Go up by 1 inch on the bust line here, and then I will join these 2 points that I marked on my armhole line to that 1 inch that I drew. So I've just taken ½ inch on one side of and ½ inch on the other side. I've taken approximately 1 inch dart on my armhole line. So I still have those pointed edges, and for us to smoothen this out, you can just go ahead and, you know, take off these lines that you're seeing. You can just take it off so that you can create a very good curve for the bust. All right, so now that I've cleaned off this line, I'm going to go in with my pattern master and connect. So this dart leg here, I'll be connecting it to this inner dart leg, not the outer one or the in between line. I'll be connecting it to the outer leg and also to this outer leg. So I'm just going to gradually place my pattern master and find a point, and then I will just connect it like so. Okay, so you see we've just created a curve I'm just making sure that the lines, the curves comes out perfect. So this is what it would look like when you are done connecting. I'm just going to take off those straight lines that I marked previously, and the classic is done. So basically this is how to go about your classic princess dot. So I'm just going to highlight the points that I made as well for this. All right, so this is what the classic princess dot should look like. And for your neck, you can just I decided this is my 3-inch standard for the neck width, but I'm going to extend it by 4 inches or 5. I'm going to extend it by 5 inches. All right, so my 5 inches starting here, and I'm going to come down by 2 inch or 2.5. I'm going to come down by 2.5 inch. I'm going to be creating the neck style that I want for this. Or you can just use your pattern master and just connect from this point to this point to still be okay. Okay. So I've created the neck line that I want. This is more like a boat neck. So this is what you need for your, and then after I have done this, remember that I took 1/2 inch on both sides. I'm going to tilt my tape upwards towards the direction the dart came from, and then I'm going to be taking 1 inch. Okay, I'll be taking 1 inch. So this is my 1 inch. I'm going to draw a straight line there. So now that because of this 1/2 inch that we took here, we needed to extend it by 1 inch, so that when you cut off this part and then you're about to join it to your pattern, to your fabric, to the main bodice, you still have enough to connect, to join to your fabric. So after I have chiseled this upward by 1 inch, I'm going to just bring it down and connect it back to my armhole line. So this is it. Okay, now that I have done this, the next thing I'll be doing is just to take my measurements again, and also take my waist measurement. So quarter of my bust measurement is 9 inches. I added 1/2 inch for the darts, for ease, and this is the 1/2 inch. So because we added 1 inch here, we extended it a little, and then I'm adding because I'll be cutting it off. You know, when we are done, when we are about to cut, we're going to be cutting out these darts, and we will need 1 inch to join both sides. So what I'll be doing is I'll be adding 1 inch. This is optional. You can decide to cut and just add the 1/2 inch on your fabric, but okay, I think I'm going to do that. So I've just measured quarter of my bust measurement, which is 9 inch plus 1/2 inch is, and then I will be adding 1.5 seam allowance to that. Adding 1.5 seam allowance, and also my waist measurement. My waist circumference of my waist is 7.5. So because I took 2 inches on the waist, on each of the waists, on my waist measurement, I will be adding that 2 inches back, and then I will also be adding 1.5 inch sewing allowance. So for this sewing allowance, you can decide to cut it off when you're about to sew. If it's too bulky, you can decide to cut it off after you are done sewing. So it's better to have excess than not to have at all. Okay, so this is what it is looking like. This is what the classic is looking like. I'm just going to connect this point. And we are done. So the next thing you can just do is to add half an inch seam allowance on the shoulder line. Okay, half an inch seam allowance on the shoulder line, and also on the neckline you go ahead and add half an inch seam allowance as well. Okay, so this is our classic. So this is the, I'm just going to make sure that when you are cutting this on fold, and you are cutting just one piece. You're only cutting one piece. And also this is the bust point, and this is the waistline. And I'm just going to be adding 1 inch seam allowance to the bottom as well. Again, we are going to connect the points. So this is it. The next thing you'll be doing is to cut it. But before I cut it out, I will go over to the modified princess dart. Okay, so now that we are done with the classic, we are going to go over to the modified version of the princess dart. That is what we use commonly here in Nigeria, and most people like this because it kind of makes the bust area to protrude more, to be more prominent. So like I did for my classic, I have gone ahead to impute my basic bodice measurement, the horizontal and the horizontal measurements particularly, and I've gone ahead to do the armhole as well. So moving forward, I'll be making use of my bust span, which is my nipple to nipple measurement. And my nipple to nipple measurement, like I said, is 8 inches divided by 2, which is 4 inch. And I'm going ahead to mark that 4 inch here on my bust line, on the bust line as well, and also on the waistline. And then I will connect those points with a straight line. Okay, so I'll just go ahead to label what each part is. This is the bust, this is the under bust, and this is the waistline. So guys, so just pay attention because I'm going to be using more of pencil for the markings before I use the marker to transfer to highlight the point. So the reason is that the pencil will actually give me an accurate measurement, but the marker, it's kind of you know what I mean. Okay, so now that I've drawn my bust span measurement, which is 4 inch, I'll be taking the dart this way. So I won't be taking the dart from inside, I'll be taking it from outside, from the right side. So on the waistline, I'll take 2 inches. On my waistline, I'll take 2 inches. Also on the bust line, I'll take 2 inch as well. And then on the bust line, I will come down by 3/4 of an inch and mark that out there. And then I'll use my pattern master to connect those points together. so. Alright, so now that I've done this, I hope you can see it. Now that I've done this, the next thing I'll be doing is to go over to my armpit line and mark 3 inches upwards. So I'll mark 3 inches upwards here, and then on that 3-inch mark, I'm going to open it up. I'm going to take a dart of 1 inch, so I'll be opening up that line in between by 1/2 inch on both sides, and then I'll connect it. I'm just going to use my free hand to connect this point, that is the line in between, to my bust line. Okay, so I'm going to be connecting it this way. I'll take it this way. All right, I hope you can see it. And then on the other side of the dart as well, I'm just going to mark randomly, just mark a point. Same thing that I'll do to the other side as well. Okay, so now that I've done this, I hope you can see the lines that I have just created. I'm just going to make sure that this is a little bit more curvy. You can use your pattern master. If it's not working out the way you want, like mine is doing, I'm just going to use my pattern master to get that curve that I need. See it? Blend it out this way. I'm just going to add pressure to my pencil so that you can see what I'm talking about. So now that I have that curve on my underbust, remember that I went below my underbust by 1/4 inch, and then on my bust line I went down by 3/4 inch, and then I connected this dart leg. This, you remember that I took 1/2 inch in between the original 3 inch that I marked on the armhole line, and then I went in 1/2 inch on both sides, and then I connected it like so, making sure that I do not have pointed edges. I blended out all the parts, and this is what it looks like. So now that we have done this, the next thing is to tilt this point. Because we took 1/2 inch on both sides, making it 1 inch, I will be adding the 1 inch back, so that when we are joining it to our pattern, we do not run out of fabric. So I'll tilt it up a little, and then I'll just connect the line. Okay, so now that I've done this, I'm just going to bring it down to my chest line to reveal a new armhole. Okay, so that is what we have for the modified armhole princess darts. So the next thing you'll be doing is just go ahead and take your measurements. My bust, quarter of my bust measurement is 9 inch plus 1/2 inch for ease, and then I'll be adding, like I did for the front, I'll be adding for the classic, I'll be adding 1.5 inch seam allowance, and also on my waistline you can also impute your underbust circumference if you have a slight difference with your waist. But for me, the difference is not much. My waist kind of covers it, so I'll be taking my waist measurements, and then I'll be adding the 2 inch that I took from the waist back. 1, 2. And then I'll also go ahead and add my 1.5 seam allowance to it. And the next thing I'll be doing is just to create the side. Okay, now that I've done this, I'll just go ahead to use my marker and just highlight the points so that you can see it. Do not forget to always come out by 1 inch, depending on the amount of that you take in at the armhole, that is on the armpit line. If you took out more than 1 inch, you make sure that you also replace it here. Why? Because when you cut it and you cut it on your fabric and you do not replace it here, you will have a shortage. The armhole might not match together. You discover that either the armhole is short or the waist is short. So now that we've done this, I'm just going to go over to the neckline and create a neckline. So you can create a neckline of your choice, whatever works for you. I'm just going to use the same neckline that I used for the classic, and then 5 inches and 2.5. I'll mark 2.5 here, and then I will just connect the points with my pattern master. Okay, so basically that is it. I'm just going to add seam allowance all around it. Is princess that this is the classic and this is the modified, so whichever one you prefer, make sure that you cut it on fold, and you are also cutting one piece. Okay, you're also cutting one piece. So this is just basically the major difference. The classic, this is a classic princess that, and this is the modified one. Okay, so whichever one works for you, you can use it to transfer on your fabric. Make sure that you cut it on fold when you are cutting. The back is just very easy. You don't need to do all of this for the back. You just need to just take your basic bodice block for the back and then modify the neckline and you're done. So thank you for watching my video. Thank you for watching. If you like my video, please do subscribe, share my videos, and also put on the notification bell so that you get notified anytime I upload a new video. And please do not forget to subscribe to my channel and also recommend it to your friends. So